Hello and welcome. I'm Sahil Joshi. I am in NMIMS, one of the premier management institute in Mumbai. This is India's financial capital, and we will be speaking to the students here. And I will also be joined by Mr. Mayank Joshipura, who is Vice Dean of Research and PhD. He's also Professor of Finance, and he'll be answering questions raised by his own students today. And we'll be talking to them about the 7th budget presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. How much they are happy with it. Are they looking for better future and bright future out of this budget? So let me start by asking you one question. How many of you are going to go into the job market by next year and are very confident that they will be getting a job in their first try? How many of you are very confident about it? Is it because you are from NMIMS? Is that why you are confident? Or you think that, it's just possible? What do you think about it? Yes.
As you said, the college plays a major factor on deciding whether we'll get a job or not. And considering the market scenario which is there right now, I personally feel that being part of NMIMS, I am confident to get a job as I go into.
So what are the schemes you are looking at in this budget? How do you look at this budget from the youth perspective?
So if we have a look at this budget, there are various schemes for skill development as well as for employment which have been laid by the government. As for skill development, if we see that the government has started, like they are providing 7.5 lakh loan for skill development as well. And for those who want to pursue higher education, the government also providing a loan up to 10 lakh rupees. And there's also an internship scheme which the government has launched, wherein top 500 companies will provide internship to students and provide a stipend of rupees 5,000 and one-time benefit of rupees 6,000 as well.
Okay, I think the second year students here must have done internships somewhere in some of the major companies here. How many of you did the internship till now, right? How much easy was it to get the internship? It's not because you're from NMIMS, but in general. I mean, how much easy was it?
The internship experience for being a postgrad being in a postgrad college is comparatively easier in comparison to undergrad colleges, but since the budget you can see that they have provided a specific amount for companies to be given out as CSR as well. So whatever amount they spend for the internship, they can deduct for that under their CSR experience. So that gives an additional benefit to the company as well as the students as well. So it was an easier experience for us to get the internships, but for undergrad students it might get better because of this budget.
So, but I've seen that a lot of times students struggle to get internships when they are doing undergraduation, So, was it difficult for you as well?
During the undergrad session, I don't think that was as much difficult as it is right now because...
Okay. But it is difficult right now.
Yeah, it is difficult, but maybe after this budget things might get better.
Right. So, a lot of people, when he was speaking about the loan, the student loan, the education loan, how many of you have taken loan for your education? And how much easy was it? I mean, was it easy to get a loan? Was it up to the mark, the interest rates and everything? Was it
mainly?
Are you happy with it?
I am definitely happy with it. Mainly because NMIMS has tie-ups with a few banks,
right.
And you need to understand the proper procedure to get the loan. Like a few banks are able to provide the education loan within 1 day, and it is getting approved, and the money is provided because NMIMS provides a sufficient time, as each college does.
With the institute, but you must be speaking to your friends. I mean, it's not that easy to get a student's loan that easily.
Yes, of course. If your documentation and all the procedures that you're following are in check, and you are aware of what you're signing up for, and you are in constant proper communication with the bank, the education loan process can seem tedious.
Is it costly? The loan, is it costly?
Well, the fluctuating interest rate do cause a problem here.
Yeah.
But the overarching problem is that the interest rates, that's the only problem. But if you are able to get a sufficient ROI, which I believe NMIMS can offer me, the education loan process seems easy.
But that is a lot of ifs and buts.
Absolutely,
right? Yeah. It's if you get that investment back, it is ROI, dependent on ROI.
Yes.
So you think that it's very important to get a loan at the lesser interest rate, then it should be available at the lesser interest rate than that of the market.
Absolutely, because the interest gets compounded, and after a point of time the amount can balloon up to a large amount.
Right.
So you need to be sure what you know what you're signing up for.
Right.
And the interest rate, of course, is an important factor in an education.
So how much this budget gives you that opportunity to get a loan at the lower interest rate? Does it give you that opportunity?
Yes, it do provide the opportunity, as the government announced that it will provide education loan up to 10 lakhs at lower interest rate. So yes, I think that the government has taken steps towards it.
Have you ever tried to get it through the government? Anybody? How many of you will try to get it through the government? Because it's a government scheme. How many of you believe that it will be easier to get it through the government rather than? Yeah, you wanted to say something. Yes.
In India, government is maintaining a welfare state.
Right.
So if we get loan through government and government sanctioned schemes, the students will benefit because that will not transcend a burden on them. So that would be easier for them to go for the higher education and then repay back.
Right.
But if we see the corporate sector and the private players who are in the market to give loans, they charge exorbitant amount of high interest rates, which sort of builds a burden on the student. So that is wrong, and I feel government should intervene and do that. And as far as the question of being easy to take loan is concerned, you know, government has a Vidya Lakshmi portal, and there they insure loans till 7 lakh. So I study in a premier institution. I am fortunate enough, therefore I got loan till 50 lakh without collateral.
Right.
But one who is not fortunate enough, and India's premier institutions cannot accommodate all the population who are interested to study.
Right.
So for them, government is providing only 7 lakh, which is very less, and that should be increased. And I believe by this loan process,
How much it should be, according to you? How much it should be?
that should
Especially the course like this, you know, which is very costly.
Very costly.
Yeah.
And for other technical education as well. So there should be a profound research and basis that the reasonable amount which is needed to study that course, along with the accommodation expenses and other expenses, government should consider all of that and then increase the lab.
Okay, so I'll just read out the scheme which the government has announced. I'm sure all of you have seen the budget, but just one line, and you tell me whether it is sufficient at this point of time, because we are talking about the students' loan. So the government says that the center to provide e-vouchers directly to 1 lakh students every year, 1 lakh in the whole country every year, with the interest subversion of 3% of loan amount. Is it sufficient according to you? How many people think it is sufficient and how many people think it is not sufficient? You can raise your hand. So they want more. I mean, they think that it's not enough. Most of the students I spoke to here have taken education loan. And as he was rightly saying that if you go for from the financial institute, it costs you a bomb. So you think that this is enough?
So I agree it's not enough because it's for certain number of students. But what I want to share is that you globally see the inflation is very high, and inflation is then linked to the cost of financing as well. So if the interest rates go up, naturally cost of borrowing will go up. So what we have done, which is significant achievement for the government, given the coalition politics pressure as well. I mean, the fiscal deficit that we are looking at 2025 is going to be 4.9%, which people were thinking it would be around 5.1% in that context. So there's something called fiscal prudence and discipline which we have maintained, and that is probably one of the reasons why we faced inflation, but we never reached to a situation where it went out of the hand. Imagine that, doing all these things in terms of, giving some money here and there without maintaining fiscal discipline and gain some brownie points. If inflation goes up, the cost may go up to 12%. Then you give 3% of, rebate. That doesn't make sense. Do something where, genuinely you can control the inflation. Therefore, the cost will come down, and then everyone will benefit.
No, but what it looks like is that rather than controlling the inflation, the government is trying to increase the consumption. They are trying to put money in people's hand. But they're still short of their efforts. It looks like that.
So I mean, I agree to an extent. Every government is short of resources, but it seems that this government is quite confident about its tax mobilization, tax receipt mobilization. If you notice, government had not reduced customs duty on gold for long time. It's non-essential, right? They straight away cut from 12.5% to 5%, which means you are actually reducing your revenue. On the other end, you are getting this legal consumption. You avoid smuggling and other sort of challenges. So certain things that they have done, it shows that they are reasonably confident about their tax compliance now. The GST has settled into the system, and that probably allows them some opportunity to sort of encourage spending, put money in the hands of people by way of personal tax relief and some other measures, and giving some select measures, of course, for youth in terms of loan cost, etc.
No, but why suddenly this change? Till last 2 years back, the government was coming out and saying कि पकोड़े बनाने वाला मतलब क्या employed nahi manenge kya aap? And now suddenly what we are seeing is that there are 3 big schemes declared by the government in this budget. Why this sudden change? Is there somewhere the government has realized that unemployment is really hitting them hard? Institutes like CMI are constantly putting pressure, saying that the unemployment rate is rising to 8.1%. The labor participation rate is also going down. So is that the reason why suddenly the government is going?
Absolutely. And like like everyone says, the election is a sort of wake-up call in that sense.
Right.
I mean, certain things you know but probably cannot acknowledge because you feel that things are all hunky-dory. For instance, if you see last year's agriculture growth rate was just 1.7%, which is not enough. So there are some issues at the grassroots level. There may be growth, but this unemployment and the other challenges which remain. So we probably came out better from that COVID crisis compared to others, but we never reached to a point where we have meaningful employment and all. And now once that they realize, there is probably, it's like what we call better late than never. It's a first budget, and I believe that the tone is set in terms of taking initiatives to sort of create employment, and that's the only way we can sort of ensure that the benefits of growth reach to the grassroots level.
So you are also a professor of finance, so I will come to the tax thing first, but I would like to ask all of you, how many of you seen the budget and think that the tax regime the government has come up with, you are fine with it? How many of you think that government should have done more into that particular region? A lot of people think, what do you think that they should have done?
See, even right now the changes, even the exemptions that they are giving, they are only for the new regime, and there are no other deductions that we can have. And many of the people still prefer to go for the old regime. So until they are emphasizing, even since the previous few budgets, the emphasis has been to make sure that people move to the new regime, but that's not what everybody is willing to right now.
Right.
And even here, if we see, if we take into account the inflation levels, the tax slabs haven't changed in accordance with those. As the inflation is increasing, the monetary value is decreasing of every rupee. So accordingly, the tax slab should be adjusted at up to a higher income levels. The tax should be reduced, and so on and so forth. It should be done.
What do you think?
Everything that he said, I agree with it completely. Along with it, I think I have a problem with the short-term capital gain, how it has increased from 15% to 20%, and how LTCG also has increased from like 10% to 12.5%. So that is
Why are
an
you
issue.
worried about capital gain tax? You are yet to get employed. Why are you worried about capital gain tax?
No, but everyone invests in the equity markets, whether you're employed.
So you invest in the stocks?
Yes, sir.
How many of you are in the stock market right now? So this is the reality. Interestingly, every one of them who haven't yet got a proper job are investing in the stock market, right? So you think that they should have done better? Who wants to speak about it? Okay.
They could have done better because the indexation that they have removed is going to impact a lot of investors and traders. And at the same time, they've increased the long-term capital gains from 10 to 12.5%, which will eat out from the returns of investors.
You invest for long term or short term?
I invest for long term.
You invest for long term?
Yes.
Okay.
And so if interest rates are going up and I have to give my returns to the government, so the main reason for this would be to increase the income revenue for the government as well.
Can I ask, why are you in the stock market? Why are you not choosing the traditional way of investing money? Anybody who wants to talk about it? Why suddenly this shift towards stock market? Yes.
Equity offers a higher rate of return, and being in the age of 20 to 25 bracket, our risk appetite is pretty high. So stock market seems to be the ideal.
So don't you think that the government should charge also more for that? I mean, if it is giving you more returns, the government wants to earn some more money about it.
I mean, ideally you can see that there's already an inflow about 20,000 crore every month only through SIP routes. So with that much of volume and knowing that the investor is taking all of the risk, there's already brokerage that he has to pay, there's a lot of STTs. Increasing the tax rate sort of de-incentivizes the investor to actually invest in the stock market. So that's why I think.
So all of you will continue in the stock market. Will you continue your investments, or this has scared you off the kind of tax they are raising? Most of them will continue. So why they seems to be completely unhappy with what the government has done. They think that they are in the stock market for higher returns, and the government should not be raising the tax on it.
So it depends on who you are in terms of investors.
Right.
If you want to just treat stock market as casino and want to sell.
Oh, they are long-term investors.
I'm saying buying and selling, then
Okay.
you end up paying tax on futures and options and sell your investments in less than 1 year. The tax rates have gone up significantly. If you are a long-term investor and you are looking at wealth creation, despite this increase in tax from 10% to 12.5%, equity taxation probably is the best in terms of when you compare with other asset classes. The other thing which you should notice is that there was this basic exemption of up to 100,000 rupees for capital gains every financial year. That has been raised to 125,000 from this year onwards, along with this increase in tax.
So that cap has been increased.
So that cap has increased. So given that I am looking at the sort of investments in capital market with an objective that over a period of time I'll support my financial goals and I want to phase-wise withdraw the wealth that I have created, I mean, you have an opportunity to phase-wise withdraw, and yet you may not end up paying tax because that 125,000 benefit is available. So once you adjust for this, even if you end up selling some 10 lakh rupees of investments, you may effectively end up paying only 5-6% tax, because first 1.25 lakh rupees profit you are not going to pay. So, and then the argument is like, you know, when you talk about the highest possible returns available through this asset class and not impacting the real small investors, the retail investor who is participating, because I have that cushion available of not paying tax. This may impact to someone to a small extent.
So the small investors' volume will not be that big. So for him, the raising the cap will benefit a lot. Is that what you're saying?
And I don't see any reasonably, you know, genuinely lower middle class or middle class individual who is trying to create wealth through SIP may end up paying tax, because if you systematically withdraw, you may not end up paying that. And for those who end up paying higher tax also, I don't think it's sort of exorbitant high, and that you would have seen in terms of the market reaction in terms of initial couple of hours and then the way it settled, because there's a realization that for that 1.5% I'll not go into something where I invest into bank FD, which gives me negative post-tax real return. I mean 7% FD, and if I'm in 30% tax bracket, I get 4% out of it. So there I don't mind paying 40%, 30%, but here I don't want to pay 2% more.
No, but you know, the major problem when I spoke to them, I realized is that how many of you have this problem of the indexation has been removed from that? How many of you have the problem with that? The removal of indexation, right? So you wanted to speak about it. Why do you think it's a problem?
See, as we previously also talked about the inflation levels, the indexation was a feature which takes into account that inflation can be beaten. Now even that is being removed. So at the end, if somebody is investing into real estate, thinking that years down the line or in any place they're investing years down the line, they'll have some benefit out of it. If you throw the indexation out of the window as well, then the kind of gains one would expect, even those would be diminished to a great extent. So that was the only feature which induced some confidence in everybody to invest. But now if that also goes away, then it's not a great sign for people to invest.
So here's a problem with the indexation, which I was asking you about.
So indexation is of course not for stocks, it's for
physical assets,
real estate and gold, right?
Yes.
Now, if you see the net in terms of calculation, because if you calculate something like something was acquired in 2003 and then you calculate indexation, if you take benefit of indexation, you have to pay 20% tax.
Right.
If you don't take, you pay now 12.5% tax. And then at given point of time, you had a choice, you pay whichever is lower.
No, just a quick question to that. Is it to make the process easier?
Yes, I was about to say this, not only calculation. I have seen, you know, this multiple options and different tax treatment for different asset classes is the root cause of all these frauds and other things. I mean, who knows whether I have genuinely spent money on my house improvement and then I am claiming that as a part of indexation. So I think this something, when you move towards single rate, you make comparable across asset classes, then I will not choose an asset class or investment based on what's the tax treatment. I'll choose based on the way it suits my risk profile, etc. So we should take people away from, you know, the tendency to invest just to where the tax is lower, rather than saying you look at your risk profile and your objectives and make your allocation accordingly. So I think we are moving in that direction. We did it with GST in indirect tax. We are doing with this new tax regime in personal individual taxation, and we are doing the same probably with capital gains tax as well.
You know, a lot of people still say that there should be, the way it has happened in this scenario, a lot of people think that even in the GST, it should be more simplified. You know, we'll still have to wait and see that how the government is going to do that. But you know, lastly, I want to understand, what is it that you think that it should have been in the budget, it has been missed? It's the 7th budget of Nirmala Sitharaman, which she should have brought in after getting a full majority government for the NDA here. So this government is going to be there for 5 years. Anybody wants to talk about that something is missing in this budget and should have been there? Yes?
So since we can see that though the inflation has come within the upper band limit of RBI, but the food inflation is still very high. The primary reason is that the weather conditions, uneven monsoons, and overheating in the agriculture sector. So what government could have done is they could have provided tax reductions like on ammonia paste, which is an important raw material in crop production, which is still taxed at 18%. So they could have reduced to 5-12%. So that could have reduced the cost of production for farmers and could have reduced the impact on vegetable prices.
Said that is one of the important goals.
Yeah,
that,
right.
The cost of production should be reduced.
Yes. So in this way, government could have made an attempt to reduce the food inflation.
Right. Anybody else wanted to speak about it? Yes. Last one.
So we all have been aware that to establish India as a global superpower, manufacturing sector needs to be really improved. The more the country exports, the more it will earn its name in the market. So I think a few more initiatives could have been made towards the manufacturing sector. Yes, there have been initiatives which improve and increase the jobs in the manufacturing sector, but few more initiatives which help the manufacturing industry to grow and people to set up industries in the country.
Right. Anybody else wanted to speak about? Yes.
Actually, my expectation before budget was that the government will reduce the tax rate on insurance sector, because in this uncertain world, the health insurance, life insurance is really important.
Yes.
I wanted the government to reduce the GST from 18% to 5%, but it did not. In insurance, yes. But it did not happen. So I was really disappointed about that.
Right. So you just heard what the youth are saying from Mumbai about the budget. Many of them are actually hopeful that when they will go into the job market, they will be satisfied with this particular budget. So we'll have to wait and see. The next year again, if Nirmala Sitharaman comes with her 8th budget, we'll see that how many of the things which she has promised have been fulfilled. This is all from me at this point of time from Mumbai.